Double game. Imagine being told you're chosen, only to find out you're a pawn in a financial chess match with luxury duffel bags, deleted videos, and receipts that don't lie. And let's be real, when Tasha K drops receipts, people listen. She's not just spilling tea, she's dropping proof that makes the whole internet pause. So, what really happened behind the camera? Behind the posts? Behind the carefully curated love story that everyone swallowed whole? Was Clarissa blindsided? Or was she quietly funding a system she didn't even know existed? Buckle up, because we're about to dive into a scandal that's as shocking as it is twisted, y'all. Let's rewind to Christmas 2025, because this is where the whole illusion starts cracking. You know how the holidays are supposed to be? Soft lights, family dinners, cozy moments, yeah, none of that for Clarissa Shields? Allegedly? According to claims circulating online, she spent that Christmas believing she was chosen, thinking she had a moment with Papoose, thinking the narrative of love and warmth applied to her life. But what if I told you that narrative was carefully scripted and she was nothing more than a player in a game she didn't even know existed? The receipts don't lie. The footage doesn't lie. And the timeline. Oh, the timeline is ruthless. Clarissa allegedly goes live in a Louis Vuitton store, casually showing off a duffel bag she bought with her own money. Posted the receipt. Everything was in black and white, clear enough for anyone to see. But hours later, the same bag appears as a gift from Papoose. Perfectly wrapped, perfectly framed, Instagram ready. Wait, hold on, if it was a gift, why was the receipt hers? And just like that, the first crack appears. The first contradiction. The beginning of the narrative splitting in ways that start to smell like strategy instead of romance. It gets messier. A video surfaces from what's called the first store, the one Clarissa visited earlier that day. Camera angle identical to videos we've seen Papoose film with Remy Ma in the past. The grip, the hand positioning, the subtle energy in how he films it's consistent. Not speculation, not theory. Visual consistency that tells a story of presence, even if the public narrative tries to erase it. And then, as if on cue, the clip disappears. Deleted. Gone. Not buried in the algorithm, not lost to time. Someone allegedly made a call. Someone wanted that proof erased before anyone could connect the dots. But of course, the internet doesn't sleep. Tasha K, ever vigilant, allegedly already had the clip, already had what she calls proof. And just like that, this isn't messy relationship drama anymore. This is a financial triangle, a structure built on timing, money, and positioning. Because here's what makes this next layer stick. It's not just about gifts, or love, or who was where, when. The allegation goes deeper. Clarissa wasn't just misled emotionally. She was allegedly positioned to believe she was chosen while Papoose remained legally married to Remy Ma. Positioned to absorb the optics of romance, while unknowingly contributing financially. Because while luxury bags and designer shoes make for great Instagram stories, receipts, pawnshop records, and unpaid taxes tell the real story. Let's pause here. Papoose, according to claims that have been shared online, has a financial record that does not align with the generous, supportive partner image. Years of unpaid taxes, federal liens stacking properties encumbered. Not rumors, not speculation, numbers, public records, filings. And yet, on the other side, Clarissa allegedly being shown a supposed $8 million win. A deal that would stabilize anyone's life. The question nobody is asking is simple. If Papoose was broke, if he wasn't contributing financially, if he was reportedly living in Clarissa's apartment, driving her car, surrounded by her resources, where would that money come from? The implication is hard to ignore. Clarissa's involvement may not have been romantic. It may have been functional, necessary, strategic. And that's when the story sharpens. Because if you follow the receipts, follow the deleted footage, follow the Christmas contradictions, suddenly everything aligns into a structure that's impossible to ignore. Papoose allegedly didn't divorce. Remy Ma remained legally present. Clarissa, emotionally invested, financially active, completely unaware of the extent to which she was being positioned. Not love, proximity, not romance, access. And as the timeline collides, the behavior becomes clearer. A chain given as a birthday gift, presented as new, but a subtle question slips through. Where's yours? The chain wasn't hers. It wasn't a gift. It was his. And in that moment, it's no longer about material items. It's about control, about shifting perception, about positioning someone where they think, they matter while the rules of engagement are entirely hidden. Here's the part that most people, miss. This isn't dramatic for Instagram. This is calculated. Every contradiction, every timeline misalignment, every luxury purchase, every deleted video is part of a pattern. Clarissa's public statement, "I was alone on Christmas," sounds simple, fragile, even endearing. But juxtapose that with live footage of her walking through a Louis Vuitton store. Duffel bag in hand, receipt visible, and suddenly the narrative fractures. The illusion of solitude. The illusion of choice. The illusion of a relationship. And then the triangle redefines itself. It's not romantic anymore. It's financial. One person emotionally available, one marriage legally intact. One stream of money keeping everything suspended, everything controlled. Let's talk about the $8 million claim because this is where it cuts deepest. Clarissa allegedly presented with this opportunity, this record deal promise. Huge numbers, life-changing, headline-grabbing. But if you cross-reference with Papoose's public financial standing, it doesn't add up. Pawn shop receipts, jewelry, chains, one signaling wealth, now collateral. All pieces of a puzzle that doesn't care about public sympathy. And Remy Ma, allegedly carrying her own weight of financial strain. $600,000 in taxes that change behavior, silence into strategy. When two people bound by history, reputation, and shared exposure are under pressure, the strategy shifts. Separation isn't about freedom. It's dangerous. Divorce doesn't just end a marriage yet. Exposes finances, triggers audits, drags obligations into daylight. And allegedly, that daylight never came. So what does that make Clarissa in this scenario? Not a villain. Not a schemer. Buffer. A financial stabilizer. A distraction. A believer in proximity while the structure remains untouched. And that, y'all, is the quietest betrayal. Not a loud breakup. Not a dramatic fight. Silence, access, control, and positioning. That's the scandal that doesn't trend instantly. That's the one, the receipts, the deleted videos, the timelines. And the legal obligations silently prove. And here's the kicker. All of this happens while the public sees a different story. A story of love, attention, gifts, Christmas warmth. A story that makes sense until you start following the money. Every luxury item, every filmed moment, every deleted clip suddenly has weight. It's proof of access. Proof of positioning. Proof while Clarissa believed she was experiencing romance, the reality was meticulously structured. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. The duffel bag wasn't just a bag. The videos weren't just footage. The receipts weren't just numbers. They were evidence markers in a story designed to mislead. Designed to keep Clarissa close without ever including her in the real stakes of the situation. And before we close this first chapter, let's hit the emotional core. Clarissa's statement alone, fragile, disarming. But juxtaposed against what allegedly really happened, Papoose was present with Remy Ma, legally married. Financially dependent on Clarissa's resources, managing appearances, controlling timelines. That's not chaos. That's order. An order Clarissa wasn't part of. And the dangerous part? This isn't about heartbreak. It's about positioning. When silence, debt, and legal commitments are used as tools, love becomes an accessory. Affection becomes optics. And the person at the center, Clarissa's a pawn without knowing it. And that's where we leave it for now. Christmas 2025 wasn't just a holiday for Clarissa Shields. According to claims, it was a lesson in how narratives are managed, how financial leverage dictates actions, and how someone can be allowed to believe in proximity while the structure around them stays untouched. That's the fracture. That's the first beat of what escalates into something much bigger. That's why Tasha K's alleged receipts, videos, and investigative commentary matter so much. Because once the proof is visible, once the contradiction is undeniable, the story stops being entertainment and starts being evidence of control, strategy, and manipulation. And with that, the stage is set. The tension is rising. The lines between romance, money, and loyalty are blurred. And the internet is watching, waiting, questioning. Because once you realize you were never part of the plan, everything that came before the gifts, the attention, the statements of love takes on a new, darker meaning. And that's exactly where part 2 picks up, diving into the public reactions, the fallout, and the deeper layers of scandal no one expected. And just like that, the internet caught fire. Because once those deleted videos, receipts, and timelines started circulating, people weren't just talking, they were theorizing, scrutinizing, obsessing. Social media exploded with claims, comments, memes, and theories about what really happened that Christmas. Fans were shocked. Some defended Clarissa. Some defended Papoose. But most were just trying to make sense of a narrative that refused to make sense. And that's exactly the point. Because when public statements say one thing, I was alone, I was fine, but proof quietly says another, the contrast is devastating. And according to sources close to the alleged situation, it wasn't just about optics. Oh no, this was strategic. Every post, every deletion, every carefully timed video was allegedly part of a pattern designed to control perception while controlling resources. The bags, the jewelry, the apartment, the carol of it suddenly reads like chess pieces. Not gifts, not generosity, and here's where it gets worse. Anonymous sources' names I can't drop. But people who allegedly had direct access claimed that Clarissa was shown the $8 million record deal as a carrot. Huge numbers, promises that could change a life. But in reality, according to the same sources, the deal was more a psychological tool than an actual contract. A promise that sounded big enough to keep someone emotionally invested, financially active, and blind to what was really happening behind the scenes. The claim isn't just speculation. It's layered with receipts, pawnshop documents, luxury items tracked, collateral allegedly moving back and forth while the public only saw the surface. And Tasha K, the ever-watchful investigative voice, allegedly pieced together what the public couldn't see, that Clarissa wasn't just a participant. She was positioned to absorb pressure, positioned to stay loyal, positioned to fund a system that never included her as a beneficiary. And that's when the backlash hits. Because once these claims surfaced, reactions weren't mild. People were angry, incredulous, and in some cases, disgusted. How could she not see it? How could he? Where was Remy Ma in all of this? The public started connecting dots that had been deliberately obscured. They talked about timelines, same day, same luxury store, same outfits, same camera angles. They talked about deleted clips, receipts posted online and later reframed as gifts. And the more people discussed, the more patterns emerged. Not random acts, not coincidences, patterns. Systems don't break easily. They have rules, objectives, and outcomes, and according to these claims, Clarissa wasn't an architect. She was collateral. And then comes the layer that really shakes things up. Financial manipulation. Because let's be honest, when luxury purchases are involved, when duffel bags and chains suddenly appear as gifts. But receipts prove otherwise. It's not just a personal slight, it's financial control. And that's where Papoose's alleged long-term financial negligence becomes critical. Years of unpaid taxes, federal liens, and multiple encumbered properties don't just vanish. They follow you. They shape behavior. They shift power dynamics. And allegedly, that pressure was quietly redirected onto Clarissa. Because while the public saw Instagram-ready moments of wealth, love, and family, The financial reality underneath allegedly painted a much darker picture. She wasn't just misled emotionally, she was absorbing liability. Funds, resources, appearances, all being leveraged while legal structures and marital commitments shielded Papoose and Remy Ma. And of course, people online began asking the inevitable, why wasn't this public? Why wasn't Clarissa's role scrutinized sooner? Why do so many relationships in celebrity circles follow this same pattern? And the answer, if you follow the receipts and timelines, allegedly becomes clear. Silence is power. Silence allows debts to remain hidden. Silence allows marriages to stay legally intact while emotion, loyalty, and money are redirected. Silence, in this case, allegedly protected a system that benefited Papoose and Remy Ma while leaving Clarissa unknowingly exposed. And the longer the silence lasted, the more entrenched the pattern became. Once you see it, it's impossible to unsee. Gifts weren't gifts. Deals weren't deals. Attention wasn't attention. It was structure, strategy, and leverage. Now let's talk about the public fallout. Once Tasha K allegedly released her proof, it wasn't just social media stirring. Reactions were rapid, unfiltered, and unforgiving. Memes, live commentaries, YouTube breakdowns, threads people dissected every detail. Clarissa's live videos were replayed frame by frame. Every bag, every receipt, every chain was examined for inconsistencies. The alleged Christmas footage, the deleted clips, all compared against official posts from Remy Ma and Papoose. And with each new angle, theory solidified. Clarissa had been unknowingly funding and emotionally supporting a structure that had no intention of including her fully. The outrage was instantaneous. Fans flooded forums. Twitter exploded with hashtags. TikTok compiled timelines. People couldn't stop asking, why did money always surface in a story that was supposed to be about love? And here's where the narrative becomes almost chilling. According to claims, Papoose allegedly never divorced. Remy Ma remained legally married. And Clarissa, believing she was involved in a romantic chapter, was allegedly funding, stabilizing, and investing in a story that was meticulously curated to appear organic. Gifts, optics, attention, access control, statements of love, timing. And when combined with financial obligations, legal blind spots, and strategic silence, the picture painted is far from innocent. It's almost surgical. Every move calculated. Every perception managed. And that's why the claims are so incendiary. Because if even part of it is true, this story isn't about celebrity drama. It's about control, leverage, and exploitation hidden behind the curtain of luxury and love. And then, as if the drama wasn't enough, there's another alleged twist. The chain moment. A birthday gift presented as new. A subtle question. Where's yours? The implication, the chain wasn't hers. It was his. Not a gift, not romance, not generosity, but a signal. A marker of ownership, history, and responsibility being reframed as a gesture. And when you connect that to the duffel bag incident, the deleted videos, and the alleged $8 million record deal, the picture sharpens. Clarissa wasn't misled by accident. According to claims, she was strategically misdirected, placed at the center of optics while shielded from reality. And the longer she remained unaware, the more the system benefited. And the public, of course, noticed. Online discussions didn't just speculate, they theorized structural manipulation. And when Tasha K allegedly added context about tax records, liens, and property encumbrances, the narrative shifted from personal betrayal to financial intrigue. People began asking bigger questions. How many other love stories in celebrity circles are structured this way? How often is access confused with intimacy? How often is affection actually leverage? And suddenly, the outrage wasn't just about Papoose or Remy Ma. It was systemic. Patterns repeating. Silence used as a tool. Money used as a weapon. And the person caught in the middle, Clarissa painted, not as villain or heroine, but as pawn, collateral, an unwitting participant in a machine. It's designed to preserve control. And just when it seems the story can't get more tangled, sources claim another layer, the alleged record deal. $8 million on paper, enough to make anyone pause and invest emotionally. But allegedly, the payout was never intended to materialize. A carrot dangled to maintain commitment in silence. The reward, if it existed at all, was secondary to the function it served, keeping Clarissa invested, financially active, emotionally aligned. And all while the underlying pressures, Remy Ma's taxes, Papoose's liens, past obligations remained intact. Hidden, unaddressed, the audience now sees the full pattern. Gifts disguised as love. Contracts disguised as opportunity. Silence disguised as loyalty. And when you replay Christmas 2025 against that lens, everything looks different. The alleged scheme becomes clearer with each detail. Clarissa's role, a buffer, a resource, someone whose belief in the relationship kept appearances intact, whose earnings stabilized obligations she couldn't have known existed, whose presence made the system functional without full inclusion. That's not heartbreak. That's strategic misdirection. And when public footage, receipts, and timelines collide, the realization lands. This wasn't a relationship in the traditional sense. It was proximity, access, and function. And that's when outrage shifts to disbelief. Because when the receipts, videos, and alleged manipulations surface, it's no longer just tea. It's structural exposure. The story is no longer about gifts or love or holiday drama. It's about systems, strategy, and survival. Every move, every timeline, every deleted video is a clue. Every dollar allegedly mismanaged or redirected is evidence. And the tension. It's relentless because the audience is left asking, how much of this was accidental? How much was deliberate? And what happens when someone finally stops playing by rules they didn't even know existed? That's exactly where this video picks up, diving into fallout consequences and the public reckoning that could shake every player in this twisted triangle. Public outrage had already started to bubble. But what happens next allegedly goes beyond social media gossip into territory that could affect careers, reputations, and even legal standing. Sources close to the alleged situation claim that once Tasha K's evidence circulated, multiple insiders began reaching out, quietly with confirmations, clarifications, and even more details. Suddenly, the Christmas story, the duffel bag, the chain, and the $8 million record deal weren't isolated incidents. They were parts of a system that allegedly was meticulously designed to control perception while controlling money, resources, and loyalty, and the fallout. Oh, it's explosive. According to multiple alleged sources, lawyers for both Papoose and Remy Ma were quietly reviewing public statements, receipts, and social media footage. They weren't just worried about reputation, they were allegedly concerned about potential claims that could arise if Clarissa decided to pursue financial clarification, legal action, or simply expose the system publicly. And while official statements remain tightly controlled, we don't comment on rumors. Allegations are baseless behind the scenes. Lawyers, accountants, and financial advisors were reportedly scrambling. Emails, DMs, and internal memos allegedly circulated with phrases like, "Contain this, prevent exposure, and check timelines." It's almost cinematic. Except it's real lore. At least as real as these claims suggest. And the public. They're relentless. TikTok, recreations, Instagram breakdowns, YouTube commentary channels, all dissecting every frame of Clarissa's live videos. Every time stomp on receipts, and every subtle movement captured on Papoose and Remy Ma's posts. People noticed patterns, alignments, and inconsistencies that casual viewers would never catch. Look at the same gloves. One user tweeted, "Same lighting, same store layout, different story." Another commented, "Meme spread like wildfire." And the outrage, electric. People weren't just angry, they were incredulous, scandalized, and deeply invested. Because when luxury, love, and financial intrigue intersect, the story transcends gossip. It becomes a lesson in observation, deduction, and skepticism. Meanwhile, according to the same alleged sources, the impact on Clarissa has been significant. Emotionally, financially, and socially, she's reportedly navigating terrain no one expected. Publicly, she maintained a strong persona, continuing appearances, posts, and live streams that projected confidence, wealth, and autonomy. Privately, sources claim the realization of being positioned rather than partnered weighed heavily. The $8 million deal that once looked like opportunity allegedly felt like leverage. Gifts that appeared thoughtful allegedly felt transactional. And every deleted video, every contradictory timeline allegedly reinforced that she had been caught in a carefully curated performance she never signed up for. And this is where Papoose's alleged long-term financial negligence becomes even more critical. Years of unpaid taxes, federal liens, and encumbered properties allegedly didn't just vanish, they were quietly deferred, hidden, and ultimately absorbed by the narrative that Clarissa was contributing to. According to claims, the public only saw curated moments of luxury, while the underlying financial reality painted a different story. Suddenly, the Christmas duffel bag isn't a gift. It's optics. The chain isn't generosity, it's rotation. And the live videos, the receipts, the deleted clips, they're not mistakes. They're pieces of a pattern. A pattern designed to keep one side invested while shielding another from scrutiny. And then comes the alleged public backlash against Papoose and Remy. Fans flooded social media with pointed questions. Why does money always appear in the middle of love stories? Why is Clarissa funding what's not hers? What about the taxes, the liens, the deals? Influencers and commentary channels joined the conversation, compiling video evidence, timelines, and receipts into long-form breakdowns. Some framed it as betrayal, some as negligence. But the consensus was clear. This wasn't simple celebrity drama. It was systematic, intentional, and, according to the claims, financially consequential. And that's when hypothetical consequences start surfacing. Lawyers, accountants, and industry insiders allegedly started discussing what could happen if this escalated legally. Could Clarissa pursue claims for misrepresentation? Could financial obligations be realigned? Could divorce proceedings or contract disputes trigger a public audit of past obligations? The theoretical scenarios alone were explosive. And while nothing official emerged, the mere possibility amplified tension. The public, of course, thrived on speculation. Every deleted video, every posted receipt, every contradictory timeline became a potential headline, a new scandal, a fresh viral thread. And then comes the alleged pattern recognition that Tasha K supposedly highlighted. According to claims, this wasn't the first time similar behavior had been observed in celebrity circles. Other relationships, other deals, other live videos all suggested a structure where proximity replaced partnership. Gifts replaced generosity, and silence replaced honesty. Clarissa allegedly became the latest example of a pattern where someone's access, loyalty, and earnings were leveraged without full disclosure. And the more the public dug, the more patterns emerged. Which explains why this story resonated far beyond a single Christmas or a single duffel bag. Because people weren't just watching celebrity drama, they were witnessing a structure allegedly designed to benefit some while keeping others invested unknowingly. And of course, the psychological toll on Clarissa is worth noting. Sources suggest she faced an intense emotional landscape, betrayal, realization, and the dawning understanding that proximity had been mistaken for partnership. Publicly, she remained poised, strategic, and vocal. Privately, she allegedly questioned every interaction and every promise. And that tension, according to insiders, shaped her behavior, public image, and responses, everything carefully observed by the internet and dissected frame by frame. And the narrative doesn't end with Clarissa. Alleged scrutiny extended to Remy, Ma, and Papoose. Fans, commentators, and alleged insiders began examining past posts, interviews, and appearances for similar patterns. Deleted content, inconsistent statements. Luxurious displays juxtaposed with financial obligations. Everything was analyzed. And each observation reinforced one point. If these allegations were accurate, the system they allegedly curated wasn't an accident. It was deliberate, carefully orchestrated, and remarkably resilient to exposure. And by now, the story had reached a boiling point. The public wasn't just entertained, they were invested. Every new claim, every leaked screenshot, every deleted video became a viral sensation. Social media feeds overflowed. Twitter threads exceeded thousands of comments. TikTok compilations of evidence went viral. And commentary channels like this one weren't just reporting, they were conducting digital investigations. Piecing together a puzzle no one officially acknowledged. And finally, the most alarming allegation that Clarissa wasn't just misled emotionally, she was strategically placed. Positioned as a buffer, a stabilizer. It's a contributor to a system designed to preserve Papoose and Remy Ma's financial and personal structure. Gifts weren't gifts, deals weren't deals. Attention wasn't attention, it was all function, all strategy. And that realization reframed everything. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. This wasn't a love story. This wasn't a breakup. This wasn't holiday drama. According to the claims, it was design, structure, and leverage. The picture is stark. Receipts, deleted videos, and timelines aren't just evidence, they're a map. A map showing how proximity was mistaken for partnership. Loyalty was leveraged for stabilization, and public perception was curated to protect those in control. And the ultimate tension. What happens when Clarissa or anyone placed in such a system finally recognizes the scale of manipulation? What happens when the silence breaks? Because systems like this don't fail quietly. They collapse spectacularly, and so, by the conclusion of the main body, the story isn't gossip. It isn't speculation. It's pattern, structure, and consequence. And the audience by now is left with one inevitable realization. This wasn't a relationship. It wasn't love. It wasn't Christmas magic. According to claims, this was strategy. Carefully managed. Financially enforced. Emotionally manipulated. And when you finally see it, the only question remaining is, how long was Clarissa? And how many others, unknowingly paying for a system they never signed up for? So now, after all the receipts, the deleted videos, the timelines that refuse to line up, and the alleged $8 million carrot that may have never existed, what do we do with all of this? Do we just scroll past, sip our tea, and pretend none of it matters? Or do we pay attention because patterns like this don't stay hidden forever? Ask yourself if someone can be positioned, manipulated, and financially leveraged without ever realizing it. How many other love stories are really just systems in disguise? How much of what we see on social media, in luxury stores, and in perfectly curated posts is actually real, and how much is performance? And for Clarissa Shields, the alleged truth hits harder than any public drama ever could. It's not about heartbreak, it's about realization. About recognizing when proximity was mistaken for partnership. Loyalty was leveraged, and appearances were carefully managed. So here's the question I leave with you. If the roles were reversed, why? If the roles were reversed, why? Y'all, stop whatever you're doing because this one is wild. Papoose, yes. The same Papoose you thought you knew allegedly just went off the rails. And this time, it's bigger than any music, beef, or social media clapback. Did he really just let Tasha K expose him and Remy Ma for allegedly using Clarissa Shields like a human ATM? And for what money, leverage, maybe even image control? You're not going to believe the timeline here. Christmas 2025, supposedly holiday vibes. Supposed to be warm lights. Family smiles, joy all around. Except, according to the claims, Clarissa was quietly footing. The bills while Papoose and Remy were orchestrating. The ultimate double game. Imagine being told you're chosen, only to find out you're a pawn in a financial chess match with luxury duffel bags, deleted videos, and receipts that don't lie. And let's be real, when Tasha K drops receipts, people listen. She's not just spilling tea, she's dropping proof that makes the whole internet pause. So, what really happened behind the camera? Behind the posts? Behind the carefully curated love story that everyone swallowed whole? Was Clarissa blindsided? Or was she quietly funding a system she didn't even know existed? Buckle up, because we're about to dive into a scandal that's as shocking as it is twisted, y'all. Let's rewind to Christmas 2025, because this is where the whole illusion starts cracking. You know how the holidays are supposed to be? Soft lights, family dinners, cozy moments, yeah.